Borussia Dortmund still fighting for those Champions League spaces, playing against RB Leipzig. Let's have a look at Dortmund for a second before we kind of dive into their chances for the Champions League, because let's look with the idea that they don't make it, which is obviously, it's totally there and it's not in their hands. Of course, they're outside the places at the moment. What do you see happening this summer? I feel like this summer is just going to be absolutely crazy. And I think Borussia Dortmund are going to be at the heart of that craziness, with the likes of Sancho, the likes of Haaland, talk about Bellingham as well. And of course, you're going to need to replace all of those players. What do you see happening if Dortmund don't get into the Champions League? What are the repercussions? Do they all go, or are they all going anyway? What do you think?
Jude Bellingham's the one that I think, look, having arrived last summer, being just 17 years old, he might not leave the club immediately. I would love to see certain clubs maybe try and sign Bellingham now and maybe dangle the carrot of loaning him back to Dortmund maybe for a season or two to get that deal done early, because the way that he's going, he could be worth huge money in a year or two. So maybe someone will try and sign something for Bellingham now, but I think Dortmund want to hold on to him. And also his development at the club seems to be going very well. But in terms of the two bigger names, Erling Haaland and Jadon Sancho, look, if you're not in the Champions League and you're Borussia Dortmund, by selling those two players, you are able to build once again for the future. You've got one season out of the Champions League where you can start to build. Of course, your young players will be getting more experience as well. Maybe the Europa League is the place for them to do that, and to do that into the latter stages of the tournament as well. But I think financially, you can recoup a lot of the losses of missing out on the Champions League by selling those two players. And ultimately, you can bring in players into the club that will maybe stay a lot longer than those two will, and you can keep them, bring in some names for your long-term future, and some high-quality ones as well. I'm not saying, you put all of the money into the bank. You could spend, 40 million on a player, 50 million on a player, and still have, after the sale of those two players, a lot left in the bank, 70, 80, 90 million. So why not do it? Why not do it? I think they just need to be sensible. It's a pandemic, and also, of course, you look at the league title, you look at what Bayern Munich are doing, and you're almost thinking, are we going to win the title next year? It's very unlikely. Whether we keep these two players or not. And looking at this weekend's opponents, that's a prime example. RB Leipzig, they want to push on, they want to do more in the league. It is going to be very competitive for Borussia Dortmund next season. It's time to get the money in the door. Look at your master plan. Look at the blackboard, start from scratch and see what you can do. And look, if you miss out on those two players, Erling Haaland and Jadon Sancho, well, it's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. I think that's the phrase, isn't it, James? So
I've been learning a lot from you, Hugh. It's amazing. I think that's a really great point, because I think they've always lost. Do you know what I mean? All these players that come through, they always do leave to, for that big money. A lot of talk about Jadon Sancho and Manchester United over the last few years. There's a possibility that Dortmund are going to lower their price for him down to 80 to 90 million. Of course, before they always wanted that 100 million. And it's interesting you say about a master plan. I think that's what's got to be figured out by Dortmund. What do they want to do? Because if you read the gossip columns and you look at the transfers and the players that might come in at Dortmund, you're looking at a lot of players that are a little bit older and might come in and do a job for the next couple of seasons. But would that be in place of some money? The likes of Szczesny, the likes of Oxlade-Chamberlain, the likes of some Chelsea players maybe making their way over to Dortmund as well in an exchange deal for the likes of Haaland or Sancho to get the price down. I think, again, a bit of a theme in today's show is the fact that it does look a bit scary for the teams that aren't in the Premier League at the moment. The money does feel like it is there with those guys. Like I said, with Haaland, Chelsea, one of the front runners, and for Chelsea to be able to kind of throw a couple of players back to him, even if it is someone like Werner, who I don't think that will happen, but there's, top quality players, Dortmund might be able to kind of get onto their books and then do what they've done really well, which is, invest in exciting young players. One of which, Giovanni Reina, scored 2 in the 5-0 win in their last game. And Dortmund themselves, getting to this game, that they're starting to get themselves back in a bit of a groove. They've won every game they've played since that second leg against Manchester City. Going into this game, the stat that I thought was really interesting, Hugh, was that only one of the last 7 encounters has been won by teams playing at home between Dortmund and Leipzig. Do you think that's down to the style of play of these two teams? And do you see that possibly occurring again this weekend, which obviously wouldn't be good for Dortmund?
I think I do think it's down to the style of play. You know, both of them at times look like they're pure vibes FC. You know, it's like go out there. You've got exciting players. You've got young players. They go out. They try and have a good time. And sometimes that means home or away makes absolutely no difference. When you've got young players in the side, you know, a young defense. If you're talking about RB Leipzig, which by the way has been absolutely brilliant. They've got the best defense in the Bundesliga, you know, but they're going up against the second highest scorers in the shape of Borussia Dortmund. That's going to be really intriguing. But I think in terms of the home and away encounters, the Bundesliga has been for a while, particularly in terms of the big clubs, very difficult to call. There have been a number of games, not just involving these two, where it has been harder for the home side. And that I think makes the competition more compelling. Look, going into this weekend, something has got to give. 4 straight wins for Borussia Dortmund. RB Leipzig second in the table at the moment. As I say, they've got the best defense at the moment as well. So for me, it's going to be intriguing. I think that pattern will continue. I see RB Leipzig as the stronger side going into this, the more confident side going into this. They want to have a strong end to the season. They're second in the table at the moment. They're in a pretty comfortable position. At the moment, Borussia Dortmund, point off 4th, 2 points off 3rd in the league as well. A win for them would be huge, but I think the inexperience in their side is gonna show.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube, and for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.